stubby geek whose eyes and dark hair were all too familiar. No, it couldn't be. Stone? He beamed. Yeah, buddy. Should I call your dad to come get you? You don't look like you should be driving. I can take him home. Nick went cold at a voice he didn't want to recognize. No. There was no way he was here. Why would an 11,000-year-old all-powerful immortal come to a high school prom? Not like the being would be bored, given all the things out to end them. Don't look. Don't do it. But like a grisly car wreck, Nick had to. His stomach tight, he was terrified of where his nightmare would take him this time. Stop! The moment he turned, he knew he'd died and gone to the real hell. That was the only plausible explanation he could wrap his head around, the only explanation that made sense, because this was the freak fest of all time. It was definitely Acheron Parthenopaeus, all 5 feet tall of him, with short brown hair and blue eyes, and in a pink tux. Nick laughed at something that was a lot scarier than it was funny, but he didn't know what else to do except scream, and that might get him put in a straitjacket for real. Maybe I have lost my mind. Yeah, that was a little more acceptable than this current nightmare. He swallowed hard, then returned his attention to Stone. Can I ask a weird question? If you must. Raking his hand through his hair, Nick tried to figure out why he was having this screwed-up dream. What had he eaten? Or, better yet, had something finally eaten him? But for now, until he unraveled what was happening, he had no choice except to ride this horror out to its conclusion. What's my dad's name? They all laughed. Yeah, so not funny. Nick forced himself not to insult them for their ridicule. Come on, guys, just play along and answer the question. Ash snorted, then answered in a nasal tone. You know your dad, Nick. Michael Burdett. He's an accountant who works with Caleb's father. Caleb had a dad, too? Sure, and fat, flying fairies made Nick's tacky clothes every night and left them for him in the bathroom. Nick arched a brow at Caleb. And your father would be... Caleb scowled at him. What is your problem, boy? You know my dad is your dad's best friend and has been since forever. Caleb Fingerman? Hello? Mark's my dad? Nick started laughing and laughing. He couldn't stop. Yeah, this was all insane. He must have been hitting the head a lot harder than he thought. Okay, joke's over, everyone. Ha-ha, you got me. What joke? Ash, Caleb, and Stone asked while the women looked at him as if he was the one who was nuts. Unable to deal with it anymore, Nick rose to his feet and curled his lip. You know, for a joke to work, it actually needs to be funny, guys, and this is not even a little. Angry at them, he stormed off to the bathroom to splash water on his face and wake up. Something had to get him out of this nightmare and back home. But the moment Nick looked into the bathroom mirror, he froze, in absolute horror. Not only was he in an ugly blue tuxedo that he'd never wear, his hair was blonde, and his eyes were an average gray color. Worse, he was a lot closer to the sink than he'd been in a really long time. I'm short? God, anything but that. His heart pounding, he checked his legs to make sure they were intact. They were. And yet he was only 5'8", if that much. No, I'm 6'4". Had been since his growth spurt last summer. Panic rose high as he closed his eyes and tried to summon his powers. That only made him panic more, as harsh reality cracked him in the stones. No. His mind shouted. It couldn't be, but it was. All of his powers were gone.